Welcome 7th grade. Today we're doing volume and surface area. There will be 6 different pages from this packet involved in this process. So there's a paper that's titled volume and it's handwritten on a piece of loose leaf paper. Those are the notes that explain volume that I'll be working from, because sometimes the video is just a little better than reading notes. There's another sheet of notes on surface area that I'll be working from when I make my way a little bit to the right. And then there's 2 homework papers. If we were in the real world here seeing each other, they would have been front-back papers. So there's one homework paper that says volume, and then it says volume continued, which would have been the back. And then there's a surface area homework paper and a surface area continued homework paper that we would have worked through both of those tonight if we were all here from the real world. So volume, the basic scheme on volume, as the notes explain, is just to multiply 3 numbers. That's it. So this shape has 3 numbers. This shape does not, so we'll work on that in a minute. But for us to do the volume, we're just going to multiply the 3 numbers. And as you probably remember, you can multiply in any order when you have multiple numbers. So I would usually probably do the smaller ones first. 3 times 5 is 15. Take 15 times 10, and you could come up with 150. But if you went 10 times 3 is 30, times 5, it's still the same. If you did 10 times 5 and then times 3, it's still the same. That doesn't really make any difference. For a shape like this, where I only gave you 1 number because this is a different kind of shape, if we were here, we would dialogue with that, and people would eventually remember this is called a rectangular prism. This is called a cube, which is a special kind of rectangular prism where all the sides are the same. So if I draw you a cube, you need 3 numbers to multiply. Just do triples of the same number. Everything has to be 4 because for a cube, all the sides are the same. So for something like this, we're just going to go 4 times 4 is 16. 16 in our mind times 4 is going to be a 64. And that's the basic scheme. If the shape just has numbers, you just worry about the numbers. But at the bottom, you can see I tell you if a shape has a unit of measurement on there, we do cubic units for these. So if I went back to this and decided to do meters, you do meters with a little 3 for cubic meters. If you really prefer to put the CU in front, that also works too, but I like to do the little 3 myself. Again, if they just did numbers, you would have just done numbers and been done, and that's okay. But if they sneak inches on here, everything would have inches, and we get inches with a little 3, because volume does cubic inches, and that's volume problem. For surface area, the idea for surface area is that this face has an area. So does this face have an area? This face has an area. There's 6 faces like that have areas. The front matches the back, so that can speed us up. The top matches the bottom, the left matches the right, so that could speed us up. For a cube, they'd all be the same, so that would speed us up even more on a situation like that. So the first surface area question on the notes that I give you is a cube. So what we'd have to do is figure out the area for one of the faces, which would be 7 times 7. Because the face is a square, to do the area of a square, you do the number times itself. So we'd have to go 7 times 7 and think of 49. And then we'll always go times 6 for cubes, because for a cube, there's 6 faces, front, back, left, right, top, bottom, all 6 are the same. So we would go 7 times 7 for one of the faces to get 49, times 6, do that out, and that would be 294. For a rectangular prism, what we would do is tackle one face at a time, and in any order. Okay, so we could go and multiply 2 numbers at a time. So 8 times 3 would be 24. At some point, you would have to do that. It doesn't have to be first, but sometime you'd have to multiply 8 and 3. You'd have to also multiply 8 and 4. 8 times 4 is 32, sometime. Multiply 3 times 4 is our missing pair to do 2 at a time, that's 12. And we make a stack out of those numbers because we're going to add them. It doesn't matter what order we found them, but we have to find those 3 numbers from multiplying the different pairings that we could do. If you add that up, that's going to add up to be 68. But that's only giving us 3 of the faces. We only have a stack of 3. There are 6 faces on a cube, or rectangular prism or cube. But we said a minute ago, there's matches. The front matches the back. There's 2 of everything. So what I'm going to have to do is 68 times 2. and that would turn out to be 136. And that's the idea for surface area with one other detail. If the picture just has numbers, you could go ahead and your answer just have numbers. But if your picture has centimeters, you need to remember your centimeters, but like anything in the area family, it's always square centimeters. So we're going to put a little 2 on there. So again, if this just had numbers, you're fine with just numbers. You only put the little 2s and 3s if there's a system of measurement on there. So if I decide to put yards on all of this, you need to put yards on yours, and for surface area, it's 2s, for volume, it's 3s. Reason being, when we did a volume, we multiplied 3 numbers at a time. When we did a surface area, we only multiplied 2 numbers at a time. 7 times 7, 3 times 4, 3 times 8, 4 times 8. 2 numbers at a time, you get 2s. 3 numbers at a time, you get 3s. So that's the lesson for today, and you have the 2 homework papers, 1 volume, 1 surface area to work on for next time. See you later.